Hello everyone, welcome to Programming Cradle. So as I had promised that when we will reach 1000 subscribers, so I'll start making videos on interview questions. So yes, now we are a family of 1000 subscribers and I'm making these videos so that you can be benefited from this, and I will try to find some popular interview questions on the internet, and I will try to make videos on that, and I will try to explain the answers of those questions so that you can get everything in one place. And yeah, if you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead, subscribe to the channel and be a part of Programming Cradle family, and so that you don't miss all these informative content, and also hit that bell icon so that you get notified each time when our video goes live. So but before moving to the questions, I have few things to tell you. These videos might get a little longer, so if you like, you can watch it at 1.25 or even 1.5x speed, so that you can cover the video in lesser time. Or if you can go with the normal pace also, if you like. So this is what I wanted to tell you. And also, when you read the questions, obviously the answer will be in front of you, but what you can do is just read the question, don't read the answers, and try to answer it on your own. And if you like to write, or if you want to tell your answer, you can always tell the answer in the comment section, so that others can also be benefited if I have missed some point while explaining the answer. So yeah, with that being said, let's move on to the first question. So mainly the first question usually the interviewer will ask is, what are different types of machine learning? So basically there are three type of machine learning techniques. First is supervised learning, second is unsupervised learning, and the last one is reinforcement learning. So what is supervised learning? In supervised learning, it is more like a teacher is supervising the learning of the kids. So it's like a data is labeled. So our model will learn from the labeled data, and then it will try to predict on test data. So let's just say in a class there is a teacher who is telling like this is M. So a student has learned like if something is written like this, we will call it as M. So when next time he or she will see this shape or figure, they will say it is M. So just like that supervised learning works. Now when we go to unsupervised learning, here we don't have labeled data. So model on its own tries to figure out what is the orientation of the data, what meaningful thing it can take out of data. So it is like a kid is let's say he or she is having a jar in which hot water is filled. So it's not labeled anywhere like it is hot or cold. So when they will touch it, they will get to know, yeah, it is hot. So next time when they will see that jar, they won't touch it like that. So based on their experience, or what they felt after touching the bottle, they won't touch it again, and it is like a unsupervised learning. This is exactly what happens in unsupervised learning. Now let's move on to the reinforcement learning. In reinforcement learning, it's more like a reward based learning. So when you take some action, you get some reward, and based on that you will keep on performing that action. For example, if a kid is getting good marks in his or her exams, his or her parents will give them some chocolate. So they will think like, yes, if I am getting good marks, I am getting chocolate, so I need to get good marks in next test also. So they will try to get good marks in next test as well. But if they get a poor result, and so they won't get any chocolate, or maybe they will get some beating, so they will try not to get less marks in the next test. So that's how reinforcement learning works. So now with that, let's move on to the next question. Now the next question is explain data science life cycle. So this question is generally asked in the first round of interviews. So you can see here it starts with understanding the business. Whatever is your goal, you need to understand that first. So without understanding any problem statement, you cannot find the solution. So basically I found this nice image from analyticsindiamac.com. So it is actually a very nice website. You can find many good resources on that website. So I'll leave the link into the description. If you want to check out, you can always check out that website. So now let's come back to this diagram. So first step is you need to understand the business model. Now that you know what is your goal and what you want to achieve, you can move on to the data collection. In data science or machine learning, deep learning, data is the fuel. So without data, you cannot do anything. So data collection is very important, and using SQL or web scraping, there are many multiple things you can do to collect the data. So next step is collection of the data. Now your model is as good as your data. So you need to prepare your data. You need to remove all unwanted things, and you need to make your data in a proper structure so that it will be easy for your model to understand the data. It is just like you can say it like a handwriting. So if somebody has a good handwriting, it is easy for others to understand it. But if the handwriting is not good, it will be very hard for you to read that. And if you can't read it, obviously you won't be able to make any sense out of that article or whatever is written. So of course data is the structure of the data is very important for a model also. Now next is exploratory data analysis. So by exploratory data analysis, we try to get meaningful insights from the data, and we try to understand what or which features are important. And if there are many features, like thousands of features, we'll try to figure out how many features are good. Many times it happens like only 100 features can explain the variance of 90% or something, or maybe more. So it's of no use to use other 900 features. So because of that also we do exploratory data analysis, and most of the business problems can be solved by just exploratory data analysis. Let's say if there is a company and they want to know why their sales are decreasing. For that they don't need any modeling or any further steps. They can simply see the data, they can analyze the data, and they can get the answer here only, and they can improve their business. So exploratory data analysis is one of the most important steps in data science life cycle. So now once that we have completed our EDA, now we can go to the modeling. In modeling, we will try different models. We will make KNN, we can make SVM, we can make logistic regression, we can make linear regression, we can make decision trees, gradient boosting. There are so many models. We can make them, and we can see which one is doing well in the next step. So in model evaluation, we will evaluate which model is doing well on our test data, and whichever model will perform best, we will deploy it into the production, and then it will perform on the live data, and then we will see if it is working fine or not. If it is not working as per the business model, then you will try to understand your business model, and you will try to again collect some other data, and this cycle will go on, and it will be in a continuous loop. So this is the complete data science life cycle. I mean, this is the bigger picture of the life cycle. You can always tell different steps in each of the stages. So this is the bigger picture of the data science life cycle. Now with that, let's move on to the next question. So the next question is, what is linear regression? So linear regression is a linear approach to modeling the relationship between dependent variables and one or more independent variables. So what is dependent variable? So our dependent variable is the output variable which we want to predict, and our independent variable is a feature. So based on these independent variables, we will try to predict what will be our y. So it will be in a linear form. So you can see here it is in a linear form. Y is equal to m1 x1 plus m2 x2 m3 and so on and so forth. And also here we have the intercept term. So what is intercept? This value is the intercept. So I found this image on Wikipedia. I'll leave the link in the description. If you want to read the whole article on linear regression, you can always go to the Wikipedia and you can read that article. So here what we try to do is we try to find this red line. It can be, if it is in a two-dimension space, we can say we can call it a line. If it is in a higher space, we will call it as a hyperplane. So and also we try to fit this line in such a way that this residual will be the least. So what is residual? So residual is the deviation of this point from this line. So this is the residual. So we try to minimize this, and we usually take the square of it, because this will be positive and this will be negative. So if you sum up them, it will many of the values will cancel each other. So that's why we take a square of them. So this is the simplest explanation of linear regression. So just keep in mind that we try to fit a line to reduce the residual of all the points. So this is linear regression. Now with that, let's move on to the next question. Now the next question is explain overfitting and underfitting. So let me give you a nice example with which you can understand overfitting and underfitting. Overfitting is like, let's consider there are two students. So one student has already by-hearted all the problems in mathematics. So let's say he or she has got a question and they by-hearted the solution. They don't know the explanation of or they don't know how to solve that, but they have by-hearted it. So when they get the same question, they will be easily and they will be very efficiently write the answer for that question. But when they see a similar question but unseen question, they will find it hard, or they won't be able to find the solution for it easily. So that is overfitting. And when we what is underfitting? Underfitting is like you don't know anything, you didn't study at all. So that is underfitting. So here is a nice this diagram, and I found it on Google. So you can see here this black line is the best fit line, okay, and this green line is the overfitting line. So it is trying to make a very odd shape, but it is trying to differentiate red dots and blue dots from each other on a training data set. So if we give it a test data set, it might not be able to perform well on the test data set. So that is overfitting. And if you see this yellow line, it is like, I don't care, I'll just put a line here. Whichever is on this side, it is a red point, and whichever is on this side, it will be a blue point. So it is underfit line. So with this, you might have understood what is overfitting and underfitting. So with that, let's move on to the next question. Now the next question is, what is regularization? So as the name suggests, regularization tries to regularize your model. It tries to make your model acceptable. So how it does is it tries to add this penalty term into your loss function. So when we try to increase this value so that your weights don't get to infinity. So that's how regularization works, and it tries to make your model do not overfit. So as you can see here, so there are ways to do regularization. So here we have L1 regularization, also known as lasso, and here we have L2 regularization, also known as ridge, and here we have elastic net regularization, which is nothing but a combination of lasso and ridge. So in lasso, it makes the coefficient of less important features to 0, and in ridge regression or L2 regularization, it makes the coefficients of less important features very small but not 0. So what is the reason that this thing happens? So when you see a figure of L1 regularization, it is like a diamond. So it has edges on the axis. So when your function hits it most of the time it hits on the axis. So when it hits on the axis, the value will be 0. Whereas ridge has a circular shape. So here we have square. So and here we have the absolute value. So that's why it makes a diamond, and this square shape makes this square makes the shape of circle. So when it hits the shape of the ridge or the circle or the boundary of the circle, it most of the time hits on the non-axis value. So it is most of the time it is not 0. And also there is a very nice diagram by StatQuest. I leave the link of that video into the description. You can also check out that video as well. So here, as you can see, when we increase the lambda, our function or our this line goes, this curve goes like this, whereas in L1 regularization, it makes a hinge kind of thing here. So when your lambda is big, its minimum value is exactly at 0. Whereas if you make your lambda too big, then also your this minimum value is somewhat near to 0 but not exactly 0. So this is the reason why L1 regularization has minimum value as 0, or it makes the value of the least important coefficients to 0, whereas in ridge regression or L2 regularization, it doesn't make the value 0 but very close to 0. Now with that, let's move on to the next question. So the next question is explain R square. So what is R square? So R square is a parameter which tells us about the about how much variance has been explained by the model. So how do we calculate R square? So in R square we use SS total. So it is nothing but our y value and the mean value, subtraction of that, and we take a square of it and we sum it. And what is the SS residue? Residue is we subtract the predicted value from our y, and we take a square of it and we sum it. So and then we take a ratio of it, residue by total, and we subtract it from 1. So this is our R square. But there is a problem with R square. When you keep on adding a new feature, R square usually increases. So even if the feature is not important, R square will definitely increase. So this is not actually good, right? So if you add 100 features, and your R square will keep on increasing till the 100th feature. But your model might perform really well, like it can explain the 99% variance in just 10 features. But when you add other 90 features, your variance will your R square will keep on increasing, but with very little margin. So of course you can see that if your R square is increasing very slowly, so you can stop at that point and you can discard all the features, and you can use other features. But also there is another alternative way. It is readily available in all the packages. So like in R or Python, which is adjusted R square. So here is the formula for adjusted R square. So here we are taking R square into consideration, and number of predictors that we are using, and also the total sample size. So I found this image on listendata.com. So I'll also leave this link into the description. You can check out on their website. So this R square doesn't increases with addition of a new feature if that feature is not important. So whenever you have multivariate linear regression, so you should use R square instead of adjusted R square instead of R square. And if you have one feature or something like that, so you can use R square, so it will work perfectly fine. So yeah, these were the questions which I had for you guys, and I'm open to all the suggestions. You can always let me know in the comment section so that I can improve the video. I've seen many people disliking the video. I don't mind you're disliking the video, because of course you didn't find the video helpful, or it was not useful for you, or you didn't like something in that video. That's why you are giving it a dislike. But please let me know what you didn't like and how I can improve the video. Just like that, because I'm trying to help you guys. So if you help me in improving the video, so in turn it will help you again. So I'm open to all the suggestions. Please let me know in the comment section, and I actually like reading all your comments, and I try to reply to all the comments and as per my knowledge. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, and also you can join our Telegram group. There are so many nice people there. They are ready to help you, and we discuss few things there also. So you can join our Telegram group, and also link of data science notes is in description, so you can download the data science notes. It will help you in your learning. So yeah, see you in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe, share, like and comment. Thanks for watching. Bye, have a great day.